It's Monday. That means it's time for Mondays with Vish. That's Vish Kumaran. I'm Grant Cohn. And we're going to be going through the 49ers draft pick by pick. I'm going to give my grades for each pick. Vish isn't doing grades. I do grades because I'm a journalist. Vish isn't a journalist. He doesn't have to, because it's sort of an intellectually dishonest exercise. We haven't seen him even practice yet. But I'm going to do it because that's what journalists do. But first, there's news. We haven't heard Vish's take on the latest news. So Vish, let's start off with the Jeremy Fowler report that despite the 49ers digging in and not trading him, that Deebo Samuel has dug in as well and continues to demand a trade. What do you think of this news?
I'm not shocked by it. I'm a little worried about it, maybe a bit more worried than what Shanahan portrayed in his post-draft presser. His answer to your question made it seem like he was exceptionally confident in spite of the fact that he has not spoken to Deebo in 2 weeks. That
his body language didn't seem confident. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. He wanted to sound confident, but he didn't seem that confident to me.
You were in
Why
the
are you
room.
confident? Because I was like, why are you confident you can work this out with Deebo? He's like, because I am. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
And
Good.
what is he going to elaborate, right? He can't tell you, well, it's because of this, because at this point, I don't know if he can be sure. I'm not shocked by this at all, though. In terms of what happens with Deebo and all of that, I think this is kind of a lose-lose situation for both sides.
Yeah.
In Deebo Samuel's case, if the Niners continue to stay steadfast on how they're going to handle the situation, well, he doesn't get what he wants, which is to get traded. And in the Niners case, right, if things continue to remain contentious, sure, technically Deebo Samuel has to show up. Sure, technically, he shouldn't pull Le'Veon Bell. Oh, that the 49ers need Deebo Samuel next year. Deebo Samuel is the ultimate quarterback statistic cheat code. And the 49ers are looking to move to the future with a quarterback they've heavily invested in. And if you're invested that heavily in a player, you would like a player like Deebo Samuel who elevates that player. And Deebo Samuel elevates every quarterback he plays with.
Real quick, a lot of Niner fans are like, call Deebo's bluff. He's going to play. He has no leverage here. There are things he could do. And while he might hurt his own career doing those things.
He hurts the 49ers.
He hurts the 49ers too. And the Niners, you don't want that to happen. You can't let that happen. Yeah.
No. And right, this is still the middle of a Super Bowl window. I think we've all been clear about that. Well, without Deebo Samuel happy and ready to go, this team is not going to compete with the Rams or the Bucks of the world because he's that special of a player. He moves the needle that much. It's like when Nick Bosa got hurt week 2 of 2020, the first ever show we did. And I said, I don't think the 49ers are Super Bowl favorites in the Super Bowl conversation without Nick Bosa on the field. Now, they weren't even in the playoff conversation without Nick Bosa. But there were also other injuries that contributed to that. I think Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Trent Williams, those are the 3 players, in my opinion, that move the needle that much for this football team. I think Kittle and Warner are right there in that conversation. But I would say if you're asking me to pick 3, it would be those 3. Those are the 3 special guys. And so because of that, I think this is a lose-lose situation. If this remains this contentious, nobody's winning.
That's exactly what it is. It's a lose-lose situation. Thank you. Yes. It's like a game of chicken where both people end up just not turning.
Yeah.
And just
the Le'Veon Bell situation, right?
Yeah.
All of, Le'Veon flopped with the Jets. Le'Veon missed out on his money, blah, blah, blah. What did the Steelers do without Le'Veon Bell?
Yeah. How did that benefit the Steelers? It benefited
exactly. They had one season of James Conner where they, as Le'Veon tweeted, they kind of spammed him in terms of just his usage so that he could put up enough numbers to make it seem like they didn't need Le'Veon Bell, But
I feel like the point of this topic here is like if the Niners are banking on being able to fix this. If they can't, then they miss their best opportunity to trade him. If Deebo Samuel simply doesn't want to play for the 49ers, this game of chicken is not worth it to the 49ers. Their best move in hindsight would have been taking the Jets offer, getting that 10th pick. And I know you would have had to send the second round pick back, but you would have had your pick of any wide receiver you wanted except for Drake London. And that guy would have wanted to play for your team.
And that's the thing, right? Yeah. And that's the thing. People are like, I saw this a little bit on Twitter. Deebo wasn't really worth that much. They weren't trading that much. I mean, the 10th pick is an exceptionally valuable asset.
Yes.
You can be willing to trade for Deebo, James right?
Williams,
it's just that
you can have Garrett Wilson. You could have whoever you want. Yeah. You could trade down. But really, you could like the Niners could have straight up traded Deebo for Jameson Williams. So we're going to have to track Jameson Williams' career because a lot of people think he's super duper special. Super
I
special.
think he's special.
Yep.
I'm one of those people. I
Yep.
don't think he's Deebo Samuel. Heck no.
But
And if
Deebo
you're the
doesn't want to play
Jets,
for the
right?
49ers.
Right. And so I it's such a lose-lose, Grant,
Yep.
honestly. It's not just by calling his bluff, and the Niners' goal this year is not to win this game
Thank
of
you.
footsie or chicken with Deebo Samuel. It's to win a Super Bowl. And to win a Super Bowl, you want a happy and healthy Deebo Samuel.
Yes.
So
Or if you can't get that, someone else who will be happy and healthy.
right.
Someone
And
else.
hopefully you can approximate the production that Deebo Samuel has given you.
And, I don't think this is over. I think teams are still lurking and waiting to see if there's a resolution, because I don't think there is one yet. Jason says, should we trade Deebo for either Marcus Peters or Marlon Humphrey and go all in an already stacked defense and trust Kyle to make something happen? I do think the Ravens are a team that's lurking. They have no wide receivers. They already made the Niners an offer that the Niners turned down. You keep Marcus Peters, but maybe Marlon Humphrey.
I don't think they would trade Marlon Humphrey, though.
That's
That's
there you
the
go.
thing.
That's the problem. I don't really not Marcus Peters at this. Was he 30?
Yeah. I mean, in ideally, the Niners would want to get a player back, right? Especially a player of Marlon Humphrey's level, an all-pro level corner.
Yeah.
But if you're the Ravens or you're any of these teams trying to trade for Deebo Samuel, you want to give up unknowns. You want to give up draft picks. You don't want to give up an all-pro player for Deebo Samuel.
If the Niners trade Deebo Samuel for 2023 draft picks, I would love to know how many season ticket holders would just not pay. Okay, moving on. That's the Deebo thing. Tyrann Mathieu signed today with the New Orleans Saints. It's the part of the offseason where teams can sign players and it won't count against the comp pick formula. I don't know what the comp pick formula is. Anyway, the Niners might be back in the market if they can get some cap space. Mathieu, gone. What does this say about the 49ers' vision for their safety spot this year?
I think their vision was made quite clear. I never thought they would be in the Tyrann Mathieu market. Tyrann Mathieu, for the way they play defense and what Tyrann Mathieu really does, and has been doing for the Chiefs the last few years. I've explained it a couple times. I think on this stream and on Twitter Spaces, it wasn't really a good match. It's not the kind of player the Niners look for in their safeties, because they don't really feature their safeties on defense.
Yeah.
Well, now that ship has sailed. Tyrann Mathieu got a pretty hefty offer from the Saints. The Niners have zero money to play with at the moment. They don't really have anything. They have zilch nada. Everyone says that, if they cut Garoppolo, money will be opened up. I seem to get the feeling that Garoppolo is not getting cut. I don't get that feeling. Do you?
They've said it a million times. You don't just get rid of a guy like Garoppolo. They might try to reduce his salary, but they're not. He's not getting cut.
But I think if they do end up trading, and if they do end up trading him, I do think they might have to foot some of the bill. As John Lynch said, they could foot that bill, and if you're not getting the full $25 million, it's a really, really tough situation for them. And so what the Saints signing Tyrann Mathieu means, I don't think it changes anything. I think we all looked at the contract they gave George Odom. That's not a contract you give a special teams player. They gave him basically incentives to be a starter. They clearly like Hufanga.
It's like they told him, like, hey, you can compete with this. You can compete for this job if you come here.
The NFL has always been simple, right?
Yeah.
You just go and find where the money is usually where teams are going to, wherever they're invested in, that's who's going to be able to play, because they want the guys they paid a lot of money to play. So I think George Odom is going to get a great shot. I think that's part of the reason they were able to convince him to come here, right? They wanted to give him a shot to play safety. He was okay when he played for the Colts. I wouldn't say that there was anything. He was just
okay. Tackle, right? He can tackle.
Right. He can tackle. He's not bad in coverage. He's got decent movement. I think Jaquiski Tartt is a better safety than him, but the Niners might look at it as Odom's younger, more durable, better special teamer. The overall value might be a little better that way. And then I think Hufanga is probably going to compete for that starting safety role, or worst case, they're going to probably have him retain that kind of third safety role that they had him playing last year. I think this has always been their plan. Now, I don't know if it's the right one. They've had some interesting plans at safety at different times in this regime. I mean, really, as much crap as Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward get, the only time the Niners have been stable under this regime in the safety position is when those two guys are on the field, right? Like Tarvarius Moore and Jaquiski Tartt started in the beginning of 2019, and Tarvarius Moore gave up a couple big plays, and Jimmy Ward
did the Niners lose to Colt McCoy?
Because Tavon Wilson and Hufanga played at safety, right?
Yep.
That was really, really tough. There were a few plays. I mean, you go back, it's really, really
Christian
tough.
Kirk got the long one, right?
Yeah. Christian Kirk got the long one. Then there was one.
Hufanga got Christian Kirk.
The James Conner touchdown. Hufanga I mean, that's a tackle you got to be able to make.
but
He
he's
should not
slow.
score
That's
from
my thing.
17
Can we just say
yards
real
in
quick?
that
My problem with
situation.
the whole Hufanga thing is he's slow. He's slow. I think that's why they're trying to move him to linebacker. Like, to me, they're going to have to start Odom. And whatever you want to say about Odom, he's not as good as Tart. So I think the Niners, at a certain point, if Tart's still available, they're going to have to call him up like they called up Josh Norman last year. Like, hey, like, with their
Yeah,
tail
but
between their legs, like,
I
hey,
see. At
man,
the same time, I understand it, right? Like, I get it. Tart's 30.
he's 30.
He's
Odom's
getting
younger.
older. He has a
Yeah.
vast injury history. So as much as I like the player, I understand the business of moving off of him. I don't necessarily like the plan of going Jimmy Ward and then Tarvarius Moore, who to me is just a special teams player.
Yeah.
Him and Marcel Harris together, that was a rough safety duo.
Yeah.
So I think he's a special teams. He's a terrific special teams player. They did miss him last year actually because he hits and he's fast, but I don't know if there's anything he's shown. A lot of people look at it, well, he played well in the Super Bowl. No, he caught a deflected pass in the Super Bowl. He also committed a costly defensive pass interference on Travis Kelce in the end zone, and he played like 20% of the snaps
Yeah.
as a dime defender. It's not, you can't say that he played exceptionally well. So I just look at it as I don't think like it's the best plan, but we have to just see the plan play out. They could be proven right. But I think a lot of people would prefer if they had a name that you could look at and say that's going to be the starter next to Jimmy Ward.
It seems to me like their plan at strong safety is the same as the plan at nickel and the same as the plan at left guard and maybe center and maybe right
Yeah.
guard and maybe it's the plan is throw a bunch of young players into a competition and one player will emerge the winner. Of course, if you have a competition, someone has to win. That doesn't mean it'll be a quality starter. And it seems to me that you essentially have this approach at 6 of 22 spots on the team. 4 offensive line spots.
Well, I mean,
Potentially,
technically
and 2
center,
DB
we're not
spots.
sure yet.
Yeah,
Center, we're not
exactly.
sure yet.
We're not sure
Center,
yet.
we're
But
not sure yet.
2 in the secondary and maybe 2 in the offensive line. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Depending
mean,
on
because I think
McGlinchey.
Daniel Brunskill probably
Yeah.
fits in at right guard, and then McGlinchey, we're not sure, but let's give them the benefit of the doubt. But
Okay.
left guard, nickel, and safety for sure, they seem
That's
to
the whole
have
plan.
this.
Just have like a big competition and someone will work out. Okay, let's go to center. Seems to me right now that the plan at center is either beg Alex Mack not to retire or to have a competition between Daniel Brunskill, Jake Brendel, Donovan West, and Jason Poe. Niner fans will say, well, J.C. Tretter's still available. Go sign J.C. Tretter. Do you think the Niners will sign J.C. Tretter?
No, not at this point. I think
Maybe.
they actually really like the young players they have. JC Tretter is declining. There's a reason the Browns released JC Tretter. He's not the player that he used to be, which was 2-3 years ago, which was one of the better centers in the NFL. He also has been a little bit banged up. I don't see, unless they sign JC Tretter for the veteran minimum, I don't see them signing JC Tretter. I really don't. I think they like the young guys they have. I think a lot of people want a name there, and I think that's what it is. But you have to look at if the name is providing value. Also, the Niners don't have money. We talked about this. They have to clear space to sign their draft. They obviously probably have ways to allocate those resources, but I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo's contract again. I don't think they're gonna cut him at this point. I've lost faith in the idea that he's getting released. So I don't know how much cap space he's really gonna open up and all of that. And so from that standpoint, I right now at this exact moment, I don't think, oh, they know that JC Tretter's there, so they're just waiting. And if Alex Mack retires and they know that there's not a compensatory issue, so they can just go sign JC Tretter. I don't get that feeling. I don't know if you do.
No, I don't think they're going to get him because, again, I agree with you. They like their young players. They like the young players they have. Don't you love when teams say, we like our young players, even if they haven't done anything? Because what they're essentially saying, Vish, is that we're betting on ourselves. We have good scouts. We have a good GM. We
Right.
draft well. We develop
coach
well.
well.
We coach well. Like we like us. Is what they're saying when we say we like our young players. Like, yeah, sure, Aaron Banks has never done a damn thing in his career, but we're betting on us having the right evaluation, the right coaches, the right all of it. So sure, they can say they like their young players, but to me, I look at their track record, and I don't drink the Kool-Aid. They drink their own Kool-Aid. At D-line, yeah, you can say that. because you got Chris Kosterick. But on the O-line, oh, sorry, what's up, man? You got to go?
No. I just have a massive bug in my room. I just got to go kill it real quick.
Okay.
My bad. Well,
Was
I killed it. No, it's like some centipede thing, dude.
Ew, dude. Some of that Midwest.
It's gross. It's really
another
gross.
reason not to live in Chicago, man. You got to come to California. We don't got those things.
I got the kill, though. I got the kill.
Nice.
Don't worry.
Nice. I forgot what I was talking about. Oh,
you were talking about the young guys. So you were talking about Donovan West and Jason Poe, and they're going to rely on them.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it was probably a pretty good point that I made. I think I'm done.
No. You were midway through. We got to hear it.
I don't remember what I was saying.
You were talking about how they were going to rely on their coaching, the young guys.
Oh, yeah. So when they say like we like our young guys, what they really are saying is we're drinking our own Kool-Aid here. We're betting on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
We're not really betting on them, these young guys. We're betting on ourselves because we pick them and we coach them. All right, man. Well, you have the track record of success on your D-line, no question. I'm not questioning that. O-line, I mean, you guys can create some good backups. You know, Kivett's a good backup, but really, have you developed just balls of clay into Pro Bowl offensive linemen? No, you've done that on the D-line a little bit,
right?
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Their best offensive linemen are veterans that they've been able to acquire through trade or signed.
So I'm a little skeptical of this plan. But again, they're only doing this plan really at their two positions they value the least, guard and secondary. It's like, we don't care. Let's just get 6 young guards. They can compete. We'll get a bunch of nickels. They can compete. Okay, that's basically how they feel it.
I think they're also looking at it as, look, when Hufanga had to play last year with Jimmy Ward, it was obviously there were a couple of issues, but it wasn't that bad, especially when we were talking about a 5th round pick rookie, all of that. Like, it was definitely passable, like you could get by with that on defense against a lot of teams.
All they care about pretty much in the secondary.
And I think they're taking that approach where if Jimmy Ward is there, they feel like, if Jimmy Ward starts 17 games, the guy that starts next to him, they can help him out. And also, technically, I will give them this, Grant. They are better on the outside at corner. Mosley and Ward is a better duo than Mosley and whoever else started with him last year. So
is that what we're calling Josh Norman now? Whoever else? I think it's a good nickname for him.
Josh, whoever else. Pretty much. Drake. What do you want to call Drake Kirkpatrick?
I vaguely remember Drake Kirkpatrick. He was on the team last year. Yeah. Wow. Time flies.
Vaguely. He's getting River Craycraft treatment now. Oh, a guy from Alabama.
I don't know what movie he's talking about here. Is it? I don't get it.
I don't know who that is.
Sean says, "Hey Grant, Tom Grossi, Packers YouTuber, took your Mr. Irrelevant phrase. You famous. Shout out to Travis." What are you talking about?
What Mr. Irrelevant phrase did you have?
I don't know. I didn't invent that. That's been around. All right, moving on. Let's do the draft.
Oh, for calling Brock Purdy.
All right.
No, that's
pick. And here's how we're gonna do it. Since Vish isn't giving his grades, I'm going to just go. I haven't given my grades yet. I'm going to give my grades for the first time. And then, Vish, you can respond to what I think or give your own take, but you don't have to come down on the grade. But let's start with Drake Jackson. Hold on. Let me get up my cheat sheets. Okay. So for Drake Jackson, I really understand the pick in the sense that he's high upside and you have Chris Kosterick. It's a good marriage. He's 21. He's got explosion and length and
bend.
And you got the guy who can get the most out of him. So in that sense, like, there's a good chance this guy's going to end up being a really good player. So I don't want to say anything too harsh here. I think I got to stay in the A range here because there's a good chance he's going to be a multiple Pro Bowler guy who has a lot of sacks in his career. The thing is, one, he's like every other player the Niners drafted except for one. He's lacks play strength at this point. So he's a bit of a project. He may not play much his rookie year. He might be a rotational. He may take him 2-3 years before he's a starter. Also, they didn't need an edge rusher. You can't have enough. You can't have enough. And if this guy is the truth, then great. But they were 5th in sacks last year. They're 5th in sacks last year and 26th in interceptions. It's also they need starters at 6 spots, at least 3, as much as 6. And unless Alex Mack is coming back, it seemed to me they had an opportunity to trade and maneuver to get a real starting center. And I just want to, real quick, I'm going to give Drake Jackson pick an A-. A-. He's a hell of a player. but he doesn't fill a need. And I think they could have gotten their center for the next 10 years. Cam Jurgens went to the Eagles and picked 50. The Niners could have traded up. Here's what Jason Kelsey said about this guy. He said, he's my favorite center prospect of the last 3 to 5 years. I think he can be special. Excited to work with them. Kid offers a seamless transition, the same type of player with exceptional upside. It's hard to explain why I think he's so good. It comes down to how he moves and looks. He bends well, opens his hips, very strong for his size, an incredible athlete for his size on top of that. Just a great temperament, solid workhorse, lunch pail mentality. And then he said, this is my favorite player in the draft. The Eagles have been using me to evaluate some of the centers coming out. Anyway, of all the guys I compare myself to the most, this guy is him. He's so athletic, so fast. Okay, so you get it.
I saw it. I saw the quote. I actually
anyway.
watched it live. I sometimes just paid attention to the Bleacher Report because they had Sherman and Kelsey on. So
it's hard to nitpick the pick. He's going to be a good player. He's a little bit of a projection. He's not. I don't think he's going to give the Niners much right away. I think I would have preferred them getting their center, but I'm going to say this is an A minus. A minus for Drake Jackson.
Yeah, I really liked the pick. I was on a Niners Nation stream with Kyle Posey, Rob Guerrera, and Akash during the pick, and our entire thing with them going edge rusher was hopefully they go high upside.
And they
because did. I think if you get a player that's kind of maxed out, you're kind of doing yourself an injustice because Chris Kasarik is maxing out every player that he coaches, and they did exactly that. I thought the value was fantastic, and you talk about them being first or top 5 in sacks. They did lose a guy this offseason who had 6.5 sacks last year, who Drake Jackson actually does remind me of a little bit, and that's Arden Key.
Wow. And you think Drake Jackson could be an interior rusher like that?
I think he can be interior. I think he can be outside. But look at his body. He has a frame to put on another 10, 15 pounds.
True.
He's got incredible bend off the edge. Like incredible bend. And he's really, really long. I've seen the Aldon Smith comparisons. I don't think he's as strong as Aldon Smith was coming out of college, but I think that he's valuable because obviously he's an edge rusher. That's a premium spot. He's amazing value because he was the best player on the board. So from that standpoint, he makes sense. But then more than that, the reason I like it is because I think that bookend next to Bosa has been missing for the last couple of years. And it's been kind of a rotation and this guy, and they hope they did exactly what you talked about in the last segment, where you're talking about, hey, they got 5 different guys and they hope one of them pans out every year. Now they finally got a guy who's young and he's cost regulated and he's going to be under contract for a little bit. I think from that standpoint, I thought it was a phenomenal pick. I think he's going to be no matter the fact that you did criticize it a little bit, you still gave it an A minus. So you seem to like it too.
Good. He's going to be hella good. I just think it's hilarious to me that the Niners, top 5 in sacks, 26 interceptions, first pick pass rush every time without fail. I mean, it's like you can set your clock to it. I mean, we've been talking about it for years. Yeah. This is how they operate. I get it. He's going to be good, but it's funny, man. It's just like doubling down.
Look, I just think the way the board fell, if you look at really their 2 needs, I just think it didn't fall favorably for them. Like offensive linemen, you want to talk about the run of offensive linemen. The first round was just offensive line. It felt like everybody had to take one that a little bit earlier than they had to because 3 went in the top 10. Then all these guys just kept going. So yeah, you were just getting out of offensive linemen that you might like in that range because they all went so early.
You kind of got to trade up and target. Yeah. You got to be aggressive.
And then if we're going to talk safety, I don't know how much of a need they viewed it as. In my opinion, I thought there were 6 safeties that had day 1 starting ability in this draft. They were Kyle Hamilton, Lewis Seen, Daxton Hill, Jalen Petrie, Jaquan Brisker, and Brian Cook. The only one that was available at 61 was Brian Cook, who went pick 62 to the Chiefs. I would take Drake Jackson 10 times out of 10 over Brian Cook, and I love Brian Cook.
I like a few more safeties than that, but we're going to get there.
We're going to talk about them, right? We're going to talk about them with the next picks. And then my last Drake Jackson take, I don't know if you want to go there. It's what the effect is on Samson Ebukam, because I do think he has some Samson Ebukam qualities too, in the sense that he's purely a strong side defensive end, which means that he's going to line on the side where the tight end lines up. And he's going to, because that's where he's going to play the run, because he's going to be stronger at the point of attack when he's holding up the tight end rather than against offensive tackles, because, he's not a 270-pound defensive end like Nick Bosa with freakish strength. So I think he's going to replace basically Samsung, who's not a really natural strong side defensive end anyway. But I think with the draft pick of him, the signing of Toure, with Omenihue being there, Jordan Willis, the Niners can save $6.5 million off the cap if Samson Ebukam is not there this year. I don't know if he offers enough value compared to those guys to carry an $8.25 million cap hit this year. I understand he had a strong finish to the season, though I do think just looking at the sack numbers is a little disingenuous. It's like looking at Kerry Hyder's sack numbers from 2020 with Samson Ebukam. The impact, he was easily the fourth most impactful defensive lineman. Bosa and Armstead, obviously, and then Arden Key was much better than him. And I thought there were moments where Jordan Willis also could match up Samson Ebukam's contributions. The first half of the season was obviously brutal for him. I think that because of the value and the cap savings that's offered by not having him on the roster, if Toure has a good camp and if Omenihue has a good camp, Jackson's already going to make it, and Jackson also has a good camp. I don't see any way they would keep him to carry that $8.25 million cap.
Here's the thing, though, with Drake Jackson, here's his scouting report. Jackson lacks play strength, but that's the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 words. So he's not going to be a starter yet. He's going to be a rotational rusher. Hold on.
But okay, go ahead.
With Ebukam, like I do think they'd love to cut him and free up that $8 million. But I think his value for them is really he's a good run defender as a defensive end. He's really a good run defender. And if you take him out, then the starting D end, I think, once again, is Armstead. I don't think they want to do that. I mean, maybe they do.
I think so. So I think a guy like Omenihue could be
maybe
put him on the strong side because they're not like Nick Bosa where they're lining him up in front of the offensive tackle on rundowns. You put him on the strong side. He's pretty strong at the point of attack.
They could do that.
I think there's a few guys that could be able to do that because you're right. Ebukam is terrific against the run. He's really, really strong at the point of attack. And, they might not even cut him, because he might have a little bit of value because
that's how the Rams use him.
Isn't even his forte.
You're a base edge setter. He's really good at that. Yeah.
So that's not even his really who he was for the first few years in the NFL. Like that's not his natural game or wasn't his natural game. The Niners kind of transformed him a little bit. So they could get a late round pick too, because he does have value. He's a good player. There's no doubt about that. He's good on special teams. It's just that that cap hit is hefty for a guy that, in my opinion, is not that much better than the guys behind him.
You're definitely right. I just want to say before we move on, people are going to say that Grant said the Niners shouldn't have drafted Drake Jackson. And I did say that, but I also said that he's going to be really good. And I gave the pick an A-. He's going to be hella good. Okay. He's going to be hella good. I'm just saying that. Yes. I also think Cam Jurgens is going to be hella good too. And so that's all I wanted to say.
I mean, Philly does offensive linemen really, really well. Right? That's their thing. Yes. That's their thing. I feel like each organization, Daniel Jeremiah talked about this during the draft. Each organization has a thing. Green Bay has a thing for offensive line. Pittsburgh has a thing for wide receivers. Niners thing has never been interior offensive line, right? Because the thing you have to talk about is that oftentimes, even though coaching staffs and personnel staffs come and go, a lot of these scouts remain
stick around. The same scouts been here since
for an extended period of time, which is why you see constants between regimes, right? Like that if one regime struggles with receivers, it's like an organizational thing. Like Philadelphia, for the life of them, they can't draft and develop wide receivers.
Baltimore.
Yeah, same thing. Baltimore. So when you look at the Niners, your offensive line has not been a forte for them, right? You start with Shiloh Rashal, you go to Marcus Martin, you go to Joshua Garnett. We'll see with Aaron Banks, but these top, 60, 70 picks in the interior offensive line, when's the last one they've drafted other than Mike Iupati that's been?
All right. Yeah, you're right. It was Iupati and Davis, and that was 10 years ago. Okay, let's pick up the pace.
But Davis is a tackle.
Right. Good point. Leo says, better hope Deebo gets hurt at this point because if he plays well, he's going to A-Rod this team for money like Rodgers did after his 2 MVPs.
That's a weird comment.
That's a pretty weird comment. I'm not going to hope that Deebo gets hurt, but I guess I know what you mean. Josh Norman, run it back. Yeah, what's Josh up to right now? He's just waiting, letting the market come to him. USC players consistently overrated. That's right. Go UCLA.
They are. And I know my man Chris, Mr. Roscoe's. He usually tunes.
Wait a second.
And I always make fun of him with the USC stuff, but I don't think this one is overrated.
No, I think he's gonna be really good. 870 Euro says he's incredibly athletic. Seen him backflip yet? Remember the last edge rusher that was made a name for himself off backflipping? Jason Pierre-Paul. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. You know what's funny, Grant? You know who Lance Zierlein compared to him? Compared him to, and I'm not.
Who?
He compared him to Eli Harold.
I know I was like, whoa, dude.
No, but I actually see that because
They
right,
gave
you're
him a
not talking
really
about him
low
having
grade on
Eli
NFL.
Harold's career, but
Yeah.
you're talking about like positional when he came out. Like, what are their traits? It's actually pretty similar. Eli Harold now, I think he's more talented because he's more explosive. He bends a bit better, but being just a purely strong side defensive end, I do
Yeah,
think
but
there's.
Lance Zierlein trashed Drake Jackson. He said
He
he has a
did.
chance to
He was
become a
hard on him.
quality
He was
backup.
hard on him. He was
Really
hard on
hard on
him.
him. But again, the
Yeah.
Niners are banking on. They're like, okay, so he lacks play strength. All right, well, we have a good D-line coach and we have a good weight training program. Like, he'll be fine here. And they're probably right. They're probably right.
Oh, and speaking of which, that backflip, that was one of the scariest videos I've seen because there was a second when he was flipping, I was pretty nervous he wasn't going to make it all the way around on the pool. Did you see it?
No.
It was a tight
When I
jump.
was 9, I did a backflip off the side of the pool and smacked my right here on the side of the pool.
Oh,
Could
you
have done.
broke your nose?
No, I was only 9. I didn't have that much weight behind it, but I
Oh,
smacked. It was really. Thank
got
God
a
I didn't break it
concussion?
because I like my nose. It's a good nose.
Oh, it's good.
My mom's nose. Sorry, Dad. Love you, Dad. Andrew Hunt says, I think running back from LSU feel the low-key need will end up a great pick, one cut, speed, and power runner. Let's go. Let's talk about it right now. Grading the Ty Davis Price pick. Let me get my notes back up. All right. Ty Davis Price. To me, this was the 49ers, one of their worst picks. I thought it was a reach by at least a round. And so, I mean, I think they could have had him at 105. They probably could have had him at 130, whatever, 135. And a couple of picks after, I know you didn't like, I don't know how you felt about these safeties, but the Niners take their running back at 93. Then Nick Cross goes to Indianapolis at 96, and Kirby Josephs goes to Detroit at 97. I think either one of those guys would have filled a need and been better than Ty Davis Price. I mean, I know that he runs, I mean, he's like got good speed for his size. He's about 220, runs a 4.48. That's nice. He runs hard, but he's
1.5
not
10-yard split.
yeah,
1.53.
he's really quick in those first 10 yards, but he's not a home run hitter. His longest run in college was 40 yards. I think he's a nice change of pace tandem with Mitchell, but they're both kind of similar. Like they both are really more between the tackles. And I think this also signals that they have no confidence in Trey Sermon, which is amazing because he never got a chance. So I would give this pick a D minus, not an F, but a D minus.
So I actually think he's going to be. If you're a fantasy guy, I'd sell low on Mitchell. I think this guy's going to take Mitchell's job. He's the exact kind of back Shanahan wants. Very, very decisive. One cut, go. Because I think that was kind of ended up being the issue with Trey Sermon, right? Trey Sermon is a little bit more patience, hang behind the line of scrimmage look. Shanahan's looking for guys who just see it and go and hit it hard. And that's Ty Davis Price to a T.
It's also Mitchell.
Yeah.
To me, those two are really similar, man. Like
but
Mitchell
I think he's more explosive than Mitchell, and I think he's just more physical than Mitchell. In fact,
he's bigger than Mitchell. But like what they both do is they just run into the backs of their blockers all day. I'm sorry.
Yeah, a little bit. I do think from college, at least, I never watched Elijah Mitchell in college, but from what I've seen in the NFL, I do think Ty Davis Price has better vision.
Okay,
because
Mitchell is
Elijah
just
Mitchell.
like constantly hitting his own blockers in the back.
Yeah, so I do think he has that, but so I think from that standpoint, like I think he's going to be their starting running back this year. I think he's got a really, really good chance of being that. Beating out Elijah Mitchell. So that's my personal take. And I think if you're talking about Javi posted this, right? And he ran a lot of inside zone at LSU, and Javi posted how are the Niners going to be a more inside zone team. I think with Trey Lance at quarterback, you should expect that, right? Because Trey Sermon was the inside zone king at Ohio State. If Trey Lance is at quarterback and you have the zone read action on a lot of your run plays, I think the outside element to their run game could be Trey Lance,
right?
Which means that you want a more one cut interior runner inside, and that's who Ty Davis Price is. Though I talked about that 1.53 10-yard split. He's explosive enough to get to the edge in wide zone, like that 10-yard split. For example, Tyreek Hill ran 1.5 as his.
I just haven't seen him.
This guy's 1.5.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, sure.
I'd like to see that.
It is a little bit of a projection from that standpoint, but physically he does have that ability.
To me, what he looks like he's in the same mold as Mitchell and Wilson. He looks like very similar to those three, and those guys are good running backs.
Yeah,
but they're guys who'll get you chunk yardage, not necessarily the home run. And so the point is, if they were drafting this guy to sort of take certain things off of Deebo's plate, he can't. Like he can do the short yardage stuff that they were asking Deebo to do, but like Deebo's best play is still to sweep around the edge from 25 yards out for the touchdown. Like that's
No,
still
no, but the
Deebo
thing
still has
is,
to do that.
look, Grant, the thing is,
You still have to do that, Deebo.
Deebo's a unicorn. Nobody's replacing him. There's nobody. Grant, how many players in NFL history are built like Anquan Bolden?
No, but all I'm saying is
Percy
if
Harvin?
the Niners are going to go to Deebo and be like, we're not going to use you as a running back this year. We have Ty Davis.
No, they're not going to be able to do that. But the point is that he adds a physical element to the run game that Deebo brought. And he does have an instant acceleration that Elijah Mitchell, I mean, maybe it was his knee injury that was preventing him. That was brought up. That was a fair point. That could have been the issue, but he did not have that instant acceleration or explosion. Ty Davis Price has it more.
Here's
the thing, though.
For the record, Elijah Mitchell 151 on his 10-yard dash. So sometimes it's not all about just what
true, but he ran that 20 pounds heavier than what he played at. So
lighter.
Right, 20 pounds lighter, excuse me. So it's tough to say if he actually plays like that. I don't know what Ty Davis Price ran at, but he's a big guy, whatever. Okay, but that's my analysis on why the pick makes sense, all of that. I still don't like the idea of taking a running back this early.
That's probably the best.
I think there's value to taking running backs, and I think there's a value to filling a role with the running back. I don't, like you mentioned, I understand the science behind having him, and I do think that he's got a good chance of being their starting running back next year. I really do. We'll see how it plays out in training camp and all of that, but I wouldn't be shocked if we're sitting here week 8 and he's their guy getting the bulk of their carries, because Shanahan's going to ride one of these backs, even though they're going to have a stable of running backs. It's not like, oh, he has, 10 carries for this guy, 10 carries for this guy, 10 carries for this guy. Usually just rides a guy in one game. And so because of that, I do think that they're going to ride, but I cannot in good faith just look at it and say, really, like, you felt like running back was such a need that you wanted to go get one, because I thought then maybe you could have signed a veteran one, because all you really did was bring back Jeff Wilson Jr. and JaMychal Hasty. So I cannot, that's the one thing that I really look at. But otherwise, I really like the player. I don't know if that's the ideal pick, quote unquote, you want the Niners making. In regards to the safeties, I don't really like Nick Cross as much as some, so I can understand why they might not have wanted to draft him, but that's more so because I don't want to be a hypocrite. I would have still liked for them to take a safety or maybe a nickel or something.
Before we go on to the safeties, the thing with the running back, as your previous point, like, you don't only want to take a running back that high. I think the only time you can justify taking a running back on day 2
is Breece Hall.
Unless the guy is like just a phenomenal runner, which this guy averaged less than 5 yards a carry. You're looking for 3 down running backs. Someone that has 3 down value he's a receiver too, because that way, you can sort of justify the pick. This guy seems like he's a committee guy. Maybe he'll be getting 15, 20 carries a game, but more likely he'll get 10 and Mitchell will get 10 or 12. And you took that in round 3, really?
It looks like JaMychal Hasty is still going to make this team, right? Because they still don't have that third down back receiver,
and it's not this
running back yet. And it's not. People say he has the potential to be, but he hasn't shown it yet.
No,
maybe he can. I think he's got the ability to be a good pass blocker.
That would be great. That would be something, because if he can't receive or pass block, then you cannot be on the field on third down. Anyway, this was one of my least favorite picks. We forgot something with Bosa. Timothy brings it up. Let's talk about this. Did the Drake Jackson early pick signal that Nick Bosa won't re-sign? This thought crossed my mind. I don't know what Bosa's thinking, but what I find is interesting is that instead of addressing what I think a lot of people thought the Niners' needs were, a position where a starter isn't entrenched, they have like 3 or 4 of them. They went for the positions that Nick Bosa and Deebo Samuel play. And maybe it's a coincidence, but Deebo Samuel's in a contract dispute right now, and Nick Bosa's being quiet, but he's up next. Is it possible that the Niners are sort of insulating themselves from worst case scenarios here, particularly with Bosa?
Yeah. I don't think it means he won't sign or re-sign.
No, I wouldn't say that.
But if the guy's the best player on your board, which I do think Drake Jackson would have been, I think that's the way they talked about it. And you have a contract, negotiation coming up with Nick Bosa. No matter what, right? It would be smart to have a young player that, nobody's going to ever be insurance. That's the thing, right? You can draft whoever you want. You're not drafting anybody thinking that they can replace Nick Bosa or Deebo Samuel, because they're 2 of the best players in the NFL. But to have, a young guy who at best case he complements Bosa, worst case he's talented enough if you do reach that situation. I don't think it's a likely situation, but at the same time, it's a situation that you can't be totally unprepared for.
Yeah, I mean, like, here's how my brain put the pieces together. I was sort of anticipating the Niners drafting 2 players to potentially replace Deebo because, as we said, we don't know what the resolution could be. They might end up having to trade him. So if they can't get Deebo to drop his trade demand, they have a running back who is built like him and runs like him, and a wide receiver who is explosive. So theoretically, they sort of addressed his skill sets in 2 players. It's like, okay, that's interesting. You did that early in the draft. Okay, with your first pick, you took a defensive end, not particularly a need. Well, we've been talking about the possibility of Bosa saying, well, using Deebo's logic, I don't want to be in California. I get all this money out here. I'm not even from out here. Maybe I want to go play with my brother. Maybe I want to go play near my family at home, in which case that's just business. If that happens and the Niners are now like their eyes are open to players looking at them that way, oh, you're just another team in California that's going to take my money. Well, maybe we got to be prepared for like the worst case, code blue. Nick Bosa saying, I don't want to play for you anymore. So now the Niners are at least, if that happens, they're somewhat protected. Insurance from the new, I don't know. It could happen.
Yeah, I mean, we're far away from that, but
we haven't heard Jeremy Fowler, Ian Rappaport, anyone say the Niners have made progress on this with Nick Bosa. It's like a non-story. It's like it doesn't even exist.
Well, John Lynch said that'll come. It doesn't sound like they've even entered preliminary talks with Nick Bosa.
No, and now they just
we did project that it's possible that Nick Bosa could be contented just waiting until next year because he does have the 5th-year option to fall back on, which is a lot of money. And we know that Nick Bosa is gonna reset the defensive end market. And the issue for Nick Bosa right now is that there's nobody else really coming along with him. So there's nobody else really it's just Nick Bosa negotiating kind of, and then there's nobody else really part of the negotiations in the market. Maybe if he waits another year and Chase Young has a really good year or somebody else, then, they enter the negotiation and they can boost the market up together. I don't know, but all I know is that Nick Bosa's deal is going to set 49ers record in terms of guaranteed money given out. Because if Joey Bosa got his first 3 years fully guaranteed, which was $78 million total at signing, I don't see Nick Bosa, taking much less, if not any less than that.
I think it's funny, like Deebo's making a big thing of it, but Bosa just could be like the same, but quieter. Like the Niners approach him with an offer and he's like, no thanks. No thanks. I'll just play out my rookie deal. I'll just take the 5th-year option. I'll just test the market. Like he could just be real cool about it. Like, no thanks.
Is that your impression of his voice?
That's my impression of Nick Bosa. Oh, I'm going to go see what's out there. Gonna go check out Miami. I mean, what's his law? He gave the Niners a lot. He tore his ACL here. He came back. He might just be like, you know what?
So the inflection and the impersonation of his mannerisms is spot on. I think you got to get the voice just a tad deep.
I'm working on it. I haven't been around him in a while, but his voice is very distinct. Keneal says a later.
Then maybe during his next presser too, if you're on Zoom, he can give you one of these.
Hey, what's up, man? Keneal says a later UDFA coming out tryout rookie mini camp that intrigues me is Calvin Turner from Hawaii. If he makes it to camp, he's a 3rd-down running back to replace Hastings.
Yeah, that's what I saw. A lot of people said that. I'm not sure. The only undrafted free agent I've really watched is Leon O'Neal, who's apparently going to remember all 262 names drafted before him, or that were drafted and never forget them, which I thought was a little funny. But jokes aside, he seems to be a good guy. I don't think Leon O'Neal is really competitive to beat out any safety on this roster unless he makes it on a special teams role. There's a lot lacking physically. In fact, Ty Davis Price, one of his great highlights from college is that he absolutely ran over Leon O'Neal Jr.
My prediction is whichever running back the Niners sign as an undrafted free agent, they might have already signed a couple. One of those dudes is going to be better than Ty Davis Price. I don't even know who it is. He's going to be better than Ty Davis Price somehow, some way.
All right, I'm gonna. Is this because of the Sermon Mitchell and then the Breida Joe Williams?
It is without fail every time.
I'm
Chris
gonna give.
Garcia,
I'm gonna
back,
just
back with
because.
Joe Williams, back with Joe Williams and Matt Breida too. Happened that year
Just
too.
yeah, exactly. Just because I'm tied into the player because I liked Ty. Tied. Come
Yeah.
on.
Yep.
Just
I
because
like
I
that.
have
I
a
like
little
that.
bit, I have a little bit of something there. I'm gonna stick by my guy because really I liked him in the draft before the Niners picked him, so it became kind of like a double-edged sword because I'm like I like the player because I liked Ty Davis Price, but like damn, running back at 91, or 93? Are you kidding
The
me?
way I looked at
Also,
this
Grant.
draft, oh, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say was going back to your Nick Bosa voice. It was a little South Park-ish. There was a little Cartman, feel to it. Like I think that was that the influence. Was that the um
Here's the way I looked at the draft. There were two kind
okay.
of picks. There was the Kyle Shanahan draft crush, and there was the Kyle Shanahan panic pick. Now I'm skeptical. I'm a jerk like that. But the draft crush, Danny Gray. Danny Gray. Like this is I'm gonna take him maybe 30 picks too high because I like him. I don't care. I'm taking him one round too high. Ty Davis
Okay.
Price,
I thought that
that
was
to
the
me might have
draft
been a
crush.
panic pick because I saw a lot of people looking at him in round 4 or 5. And the guy who went 2 picks before was a 3-down running back from Arizona State. That dude had 50 catches last year. Rashad White. I was thinking Kyle was looking at him. He also runs a 4.48. And once he gets picked and you're surprised, you're like, damn. All right, well, who's the next running back on the board? Oh, okay, Ty Davis. All right, fine. He's close enough. I felt that's what I was thinking a little bit
So
about that.
I think Ty Davis Price would have been his draft crush. He
Maybe.
loves these
Maybe.
just guys who are totally reckless
He does now.
with their
Yes,
body
he does.
and
Yeah.
just go and they'll hit everything that moves. He has an affinity for that player.
He does.
And that's
He
Ty
does.
Davis Price to the T.
It's true. Chris says Nick Foles'
Come
agent
on.
thanked the Bears for to a T. Nick Foles' agent thanked the Bears for release rather than searching for a perfect trade. I know one team that could learn from this. That's a good point. This whole thing that happened with Nick Foles on the Bears is the Niners should just do that. That you're not going to get anything. You're holding out because he won a Super Bowl, was in a Super Bowl. The market says he's not worth anything. Just do the guy a favor and cut him. Like you look good in the eyes of players. He thanks you. Players are like, "Well, you really did nice, but you did right by that guy." The Niners are doing the opposite by Jimmy, and I think they should do what the Bears did with Foles. That's all I want to say. It's a good move. Thanks, Chris. Matthew Sanders says both.
I can't add anything more to that.
Definitely just do it. And just for the sake, we want to do right by Jimmy. Okay. Matthew Sanders says both Deebo and Bosa have been hurt repeatedly and at least once per year. This draft was taking some eggs out of those baskets. Ensure replace. Fair. I see what you mean.
Possible. But I think ideally you would like everything to work in complement with those two players.
Oh, Ramadan's over.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, my bad. I didn't know. Shout out to Amin, who's done. Amin does it, Ramadan.
Oh, really?
Shout out. All right, let's next one. We've gotten through 2 picks, and let's pick up the pace here. Danny Gray with the wide receiver at the end of round 3, incredibly fast, and he tracks the ball well. He's a legit
really
fast.
fast.
Really fast. 4.3. He also seems to be, in addition to being a deep threat, like Travis Benjamin, it seems like he's good on screens and jet sweeps, which adds to his skill set. Although at 186 pounds, the first thing they say in his thing needs to add play strength. In his scouting report, needs to add play strength. So they said he's tough.
You want to go there right now because I think that's a conversation that we have to have. Like just because a guy has good yards after the catch in college doesn't mean it always translates to the NFL.
No, it doesn't.
Because a lot of guys are good after the catch in college, but very few are Deebo Samuel in the NFL.
He's not just going to run through tackles and he might get hit really hard and realize, you know what, I'm actually not going to run through that hole as hard next time. Because to me, he has some nice things. He's really fast. He is lean and he drops the ball a lot. He catches the ball with his chest. I don't think he's going to be much of a factor on intermediate routes. So I think he's kind of limited. And in that sense, to me, he reminds me of Pettis. Now, I think he'll be better because he's faster. Pettis wasn't even fast. But I think he's tougher in the sense of too. Will the toughness translate? Because when they drafted Pettis, they were like, man, this guy's an incredible punt returner. He's fearless. I don't know how he does it. And then he got hit a couple times in the NFL and was not fearless anymore. Wow. These guys are way bigger than they are in the Pac-12. Is that going to be Danny Gray? Is he just going to be the guy who catches a couple of deep throws a year and drops a couple? Because if that's what it is, and I don't like this pick, I give it a C.
Yeah. I see a lot of people saying this is the best pick in the draft. I don't necessarily see it that way, although I thought that Aaron Banks was a great pick a year ago. So take my word for what you will. But I saw Eric Crocker do a terrific film thread on Danny Gray and talked
Mhm,
about like the lack of polish in his
mhm,
game. That
mhm.
was something I definitely saw as well. So like I was pretty happy that I saw it the right way because Croc is outstanding at what he does, and I'm still learning a lot of this stuff. But in regards to Danny Gray, to me, he feels like he might be a year away.
Yeah.
Just because I think there's some polish lacking in his game,
Lack of
and
strength, lack
that's
of
where,
technique.
and
Lack of
that's where,
strength, lack of technique. Every
yeah,
player they drafted this year, Drake Jackson, except for Ty Davis Price. Lack of strength,
and
lack of technique.
that's where Shanahan, I think, it's look. They gave, I said, follow the money. They gave Rodney McLeod or Ray McLeod, excuse me. Rodney McLeod is the Colts safety. Ray McLeod. They gave him a contract that indicates that he's going to be more than a special teamer. I expect him to have a role in this offense and have a role in this passing game. Juwan Jennings had a very strong finish to the season. He's an outstanding blocker, and his size at the 49 for the 49ers is pretty irreplaceable because he's the only really big,
Yep.
intimidating
What
guy.
you're saying
And
is the top 4 wide receivers are set in the depth chart.
yes,
Top
and
4 are
I
set.
I think so, and I think that, I think that his speed does add an element, but I don't know
He's a
if,
year away.
he's gonna be used and he's gonna
He's a
come
year
in and
away.
be Deshaun Jackson for the 49ers right away. I think I've seen a Brandon Cooks comparison thrown out. I think Brandon Cooks is a little shorter, and I always thought Brandon Cooks had bigger legs and just a bigger overall frame. And I think Brandon Cooks also had a touch more explosion just off the immediate start than Danny Gray. I think Gray will be like good at some point, but I also think there's a bit of development that has to happen here.
Yes.
And I don't look at this as, oh, he's going to just come in and now they're going to go play action and it's going to be RG3 and Aldrick Robinson all over again, but
He's
now
not gonna
with
get off the press.
Trey Lance and
No.
Danny Gray. And so from that standpoint, like I think he has an opportunity to be a special teams impact player, and I think he has an opportunity with his speed because the speed isn't just speed. Shanahan talked about it. It is like the fastest guy in the NFL
Yep.
type speed.
Yep.
But I think it might take, like a year for him to maybe get a bit stronger, get a bit more refined, and then he might be a contributor. Because Shanahan, in my opinion, he's been kind of steadfast on this. He wants receivers who can play all three positions, who can do it all. He doesn't like, just
Right. That's what
putting a
Mark
guy
Pettis.
on there for 50 snaps just to be a specialist to do one thing. So he might get a couple snaps to run a clear out route or something, but to be a focal part of this offense, which I think some people are expecting when they say, oh, he's the best pick in the draft and all of that is an immediate contributor. I don't necessarily project it that way.
Okay, so hold on. To me, this is a lot like the Drake Jackson pick. Okay, like both guys are lacking play strength and technique, but they have high upside. And the reason that we're so bullish on Drake Jackson is because the Niners have the
But
track
Drake
record
Jackson
of
has production too, right?
true. That's
Like,
true. But again,
yeah, that
hold on. A big reason we're bullish on Drake Jackson is he's in a great spot. He has Chris Kosaric. Kosaric is almost certainly going to get the most out of him. The Niners don't necessarily have that track record at wide receiver. I mean,
you don't
they're
believe
the
in Leonard
same.
Hankerson?
I mean, first of all, they have Leonard Hankerson, who's in his first year, has never done this before. Wes Welker's gone. Also, this is the same team that went all in with Dante Pettis, knowing he just needed to add play strength, and he never did. So I'm glad that the Niners bet on themselves relentlessly, but I'm a little skeptical that they can turn a ball of clay at wide receiver into Emmanuel Sanders. I think
Yeah.
Kyle thinks he can turn this guy into Emmanuel Sanders. I'm skeptical. Leonard Hankerson has a lot in his plate right now.
See, but I also think like a lot of the stuff that makes Emmanuel Sanders really good, I don't think that's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers taught him. That's also Emmanuel Sanders just putting in work. Like
Yes.
Emmanuel Sanders, from a technical standpoint, in terms of how he runs his routes, how late he uses his hands, how he always catches the ball with his hands, all of that is like as refined a receiver. It's just that, he's 5'10", 180 pounds, but
Yeah.
Emmanuel Sanders, there's a reason he's been in the NFL for this many teams for 12, 13 years, and he's been very good for just about everywhere he's played because he's an awesome player. I don't know if that's really fair, other than the fact that Danny Gray is from SMU and he was drafted in the 3rd round. I think the speed is special, right? The Niners don't have that kind of speed anywhere really on their offense. The only explosion that they have that's comparable is Deebo, but Deebo doesn't have the overall long speed of Danny Gray, right? Like the speed is awesome, but I do think if you're going to talk about like an immediate contributor, like there's a little bit of polish that needs to happen. Croc talked about it a lot. He posted how he doesn't, even though he's really, really fast, his routes don't, like, when he's just running routes, his routes don't reflect, a super fast guy, and that speed doesn't threaten DBs on every route. And I think that's been an issue for a lot of the, quote unquote speed guys when they come into the league. Yeah, they run 4.3, but if you run 4.3 in a straight line and you don't run 4.3 through an in route or 4.3 through an out route, like, DBs can cover you even if they run 4.4 or 4.5. Like, that's the thing with Deebo, right? Even though he runs 4.48, his speed scares you because the explosion is special. So
I also question the fit with Trey Lance. I mean, you got to give Trey Lance a deep threat, but you would think that a receiver who's going to have a big role with Lance down the line would have serious hand-eye coordination, and this guy doesn't trust his hands. So where's the fit here? That's my last thing. Like,
Larry Krueger was saying the same thing.
Yeah.
I don't think he was saying it about Danny Gray. We were talking about somebody else, but he was saying, well, because Lance's big issue is ball placement more so than accuracy. It's just that he's pretty accurate, actually. He's usually in the right location. It's just about precision. And that was kind of his issue in college too. He can be a little bit
heavy ball.
And it can be a little bit outside or a little bit inside at times. So you need a guy, right, that's going to, really find the ball and catch it. I think he was saying that about Jamison Williams. But my only thing with Danny Gray, like, I understand why people are high on him. It's obvious. Like, the movement is, like, unreal. It's just that my only thing is I don't think he's going to walk in and be this day one contributor. Now, I could be totally wrong. Again, I told you what my track record is. It's not great. So
no, he's a project. He's a project. And my question is, how good are the Niners with project wide receivers? Deebo was not a project. No, Deebo's not a project.
And that's the other thing, right? If you're talking about his speed scaring you through the route, which is what Croc is talking about, if that's not there, then the effect of his speed also loses a little bit of its luster, right? And that's where then you're only going to see him really play, 10, 15 snaps and run a couple clear out routes and stuff. You might not see bombs away from Lance. Yeah, and that's the other thing, right? I just look at it. Ray McLeod is going to get a shot to be a player in this offense. I think they're going to try to. In fact, I think they'll try to feature him in some ways. And then Juwan Jennings, his blocking, his physicality, all of it. It's kind of. Especially when you look at the rest of the receiving corps, at this point, it's like it's a wanted commodity because there's nobody else really like that on the receiving corps. So I do think it's going to be also tough for him to break in and just play a bunch of snaps as a rookie too.
Corey says Danny Gray actually was high on a lot of scouts' boards. Clearly on the Niners board. Throat Ripping says, will Rodgers and Christian Watson be a threat this year? I don't know. I can see Rodgers hating him. Rodgers is so hard on rookie wide receivers.
I think they will be. I think they'll be good.
Gizmo Maltese says Niners will lead the league in rushing. When they're not rushing Mitchell and Deebo, they'll be running Lance. I actually agree with that. I think the Niners are going to lead the league in rushing attempts, rushing yards.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be.
I think so too.
They're going to throw not very many passes.
The other thing is, if you're going to have questions at offensive line, which the Niners could. Best way to protect your offensive line is to run the ball. I think they're gonna run the ball in like more than we've ever seen.
They ranked 31st in pass attempts last year. They could rank 32nd. Although the Seahawks are
will be close.
They'll be right there. It's those two.
Baltimore will be right there with them. It'll be those three teams kind of fighting it out for who's gonna run the ball more.
Revenge says, "What's you guys think Brian Griese gonna do this year?"
I don't know. I'm just glad he's off Monday Night Football, man. That's the only thing I care about, really.
Okay, we've got 6 more picks. We're an hour in. Let's go a little bit quicker because there's less to say about these guys. Those were the 3 most important picks. But these picks were important too. Spencer Burford. Let me tell you what I think of him. Basically, he's in the same tradition as Drake Jackson and Danny Gray. He is a very athletic guy with upside who lacks play strength and technique. He's not going to be a contributor in 2022. He's a year out. He's not a medical redshirt, but he might as well be a redshirt. And again, like the Niners are betting on themselves to get the most out of a project. Like if it's a D lineman, I buy them. They have the track record at O-line. Their track record at O-line is taking guys in the mid rounds and turning them into quality backups. So I feel like this is what you call like the essence of a C pick. Again,
this feels like Jalen Moore all over again to me. We'll see what happens with Jalen Moore. I know a lot of people really liked how he looked in camp last year. I think even you thought he was pretty good and you thought he's going to be something. It was just for him well, one, he had to learn like
He
multiple
had a couple good
positions.
preseason games.
Yeah, yeah,
He did.
he did, and he played okay when he had to fill in that one game at left tackle for Trent Williams.
Yes.
It was
He
not
got
bad.
replaced real quick at right tackle, but again,
Yeah,
some people just can only do one side.
right.
Yeah.
So I'm actually, if there's one offensive lineman I'm a little bit bullish on going into this year, that's one of these young guys. Even though I was high on Banks, um, it would be Jalen Moore,
Okay.
because a lot of people who go to the practices too, like Kyle Posey was telling me, like he really stands out as an athlete, relative to the rest of the offensive line. Like he really moves well. I think you also said the same thing. So, um, I think he's kind of the same way. I think he's going to be kind of their guard tackle, kind of backup offensive lineman this year. I think for a fourth round pick, having starter upside is nice. I think that's kind of the biggest issue, right? Like the Niners do
Starter
need a
upside.
couple
Yes.
guys
Starter upside.
to
Yes.
have be defined
Yes.
starters, but
Yes.
you're not going to find much else other than starter upside in the fourth round, especially if you're
Yes.
talking
Right.
positions like tackle, guard, and
All I'm saying is basically I
yeah.
don't really trust the Niners to turn a project offensive lineman into a quality starter. Maybe they
And
can.
I think Jalen Moore will give us a good
We'll
frame of
see.
reference. We'll see how
Yes.
he is this year, and if he is good, then I think Spencer Burford has got a good chance too.
Okay.
But also, the
Yes.
one thing I do want to say about development that often goes unnoticed is it is a little bit on the player too, right? Like, is the player going to do everything he needs to do to get himself stronger and get himself bigger and get himself ready for the next season? Because the thing is, a lot of the development, and I think this is where some of the Bills with Josh Allen gets a little bit overrated, because a lot of the times coaches don't have time, to make sure guys eating right and
Mhm.
lifting right and doing all that. Because once the season starts, you're trying to get him prepared in
Mhm.
what you're going to do and what his role is. So the physical stuff, really, like Josh Allen's throwing and stuff and getting more accurate and getting more comfortable within the offense and all that, was Josh Allen putting time on his own. So that's where I think it's a little bit difficult to project, though guys like Paseric have a proven track record of, regardless of what the guy's history, regardless of what he does, he gets them somehow to be at a level that's much beyond any other point in their career.
And I just want to point out that so far we basically agree that Spencer Burford, you're away. Danny Gray, you're away. Drake Jackson, I mean, might be a
I
year
think
away.
he's got a chance to contribute this year as
He could
just a
contribute. I'm thinking
situational
maybe
pass
300
rusher. Yeah.
snaps this year, though. Maybe 300 snaps as a
But
rotational
if he
rusher.
can
We'll
give
see.
you, 5, 6 sacks or
That's
4 or
great.
5 sacks, it's a
That's
great
great.
contribution. Yeah.
But these last two picks, I gave them both a C, but I think a year away. So not good, not bad, but it kind of shows you that the Niners are playing for Trey Lance's
But let
second
me ask you
year as a
this. Let
starter.
me ask you this though, Grant.
Yes.
In the fourth round, how many guys are you really going to draft that are immediate, starters and contributors?
No. I think it's a sound strategy. Get someone with starter traits that's a year away and
Mhm.
develop them. I just wonder if the Niners can do it on the offensive line. I'd like to know. I'd
No,
like to see them do it.
I now understand your line of
Yeah.
thinking. I get it now. It's
Yeah.
not that
It's
they
not a
shouldn't
bad
have
pick.
drafted these guys, right? Like these guys make sense. It's just that
Yeah.
you would prefer to draft these guys while having a guy that's a veteran who's been around, done that, and has
Yeah.
a track record of
I
being
mean,
a
the
good
Niners have a
starter.
needed
Okay.
guard, right? Like, I wouldn't expect these two guys. It'll be in the competition, but I don't think these guys are. It's going to be McKivitz,
It's
Banks,
so tough for
Moore,
offensive
schooling.
linemen, man.
Yeah.
It's so tough for offensive linemen because we were talking about the strength discrepancy, and this is
Yes.
something like I've been learning too. It's just that no matter how strong you are in college, the fifth defensive tackle on most NFL teams has just absolute grown man, just body pile
Big
moving
difference.
strength where they can
Big
move all
difference.
these younger offensive. Like
Yeah.
it's a whole body transformation for these guys. So
I
it's
mean, Aaron
difficult.
Banks went from being the strong dude on the field to being the weak dude on the field in a month, right?
Child
Aaron
Rachel.
Banks was like a mauler in college, and
Yeah.
on the Niners, he's got like making Contavious Street look like a
Marcus
mauler.
Martin.
Yes.
Marcus Martin.
Yes.
Best example of this.
Yep. Yep. All right, moving on. Round 5. This was, I think, the most surprising pick. No one had heard of this guy. In round 5, the Niners took nickelback Sam Womack from Toledo, was not invited to the combine, didn't even have an NFL.com draft profile. Now,
This is
at his
Adam
pro
Peters.
day, he killed it. He's only 5'9", but he ran a 4.4. He had a high vert. He killed all the agility tests. Still, for me, I don't even think this guy's going to make the team. I think this was a panic pick. I think there was some other corner they were targeting, and once he got picked, the Niners are like, we need it. We need a nickel. And so they got some nickel that they probably were going to sign as an undrafted free agent. Unless I'm way off here, I would give this an F, and I don't think he's going to make the team.
Yeah, I don't know much about Sam Womack.
No one does.
I think he projects. I didn't even watch him. I don't really watch late round picks usually. Like I just don't have time to study that many people. But oh, someone said, "How do you know this is Adam
Yeah.
Schmidt?" I was joking.
It's
joking.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Not by
don't know
steal.
much. I don't know much about him. I guess we'll have to see what he is and see what people say about him in training camp, and then watch him in preseason and stuff like that. But yeah, I think he was just their nickel, their idea of a guy who's going to compete with, I guess, Diamador Lenore to be their nickel.
This guy ain't competing. This is another guy who lacks play strength and technique. I think he's gonna. To me, it's like if they cut him, I don't think any team's going to sign. He could go on the practice squad and they can develop him the way they probably were planning on developing him all along. Maybe he was one of their priority free agents or whatever. But it seems to me that the competition is going to be between people who actually have a couple of years under their belt. Like it'll be Denard, Lenore, Mosley. That's the competition. If Sam Womack,
I mean, if it's Mosley, right? Mosley steps up, and Mosley could probably fill that role. But I don't know why you would move Mosley from the outside when he's been more or less terrific when he's played the last 2 years on the outside.
That's what I'm saying. Why would you mess with that? So to me, I mean, Fred Warner was asked a couple of days ago, who's the nickel? And he's like, well, it's Denard. I mean, that's the last guy who played it for us. So,
well, it might be Dante Johnson. Don't forget that guy.
Don't forget Dante Johnson. Again, the Niners always act like they're above the Dante Johnson, Jaquiski Tart level. But then at 2 a.m., right when the bars close, and the Niners are like, yo, Jaquiski.
No, Dante Johnson's back on the team already.
Oh, he is? Okay. All right, there you go. There you go.
I mean, the thing is, Dante Johnson, I knew they would bring him back. He's a backup in all 5 positions, and he's kind of a very, very good special teamer that doesn't get a lot of regard for it. So he's kind of like for the Niners where he's not really valuable for any other team, but for the Niners, he's kind of invaluable. He's like their all-star backup. He's like their greatest backup.
I feel you. So real quick, before we move on from Sam Womack, this to me felt like a straight up panic move. I don't know what this was. I think the Niners were pegged in to taking a nickel here, and maybe they wanted Deron Bland, who went a few picks before to Dallas. I don't know. But everyone was like, Dane Brugler was like, I didn't even rank this guy. I don't know. People were tripping. Anyway.
And those guys do insane amount of research for the draft. So if
and it's not like Toledo is like a super small school. A lot. Deontay Johnson went to Toledo. People scout that school. It's in the MAC. Anyway. He had a good pro day, though.
Wednesday Maction, baby.
He had a good pro day, and so did Emmanuel.
Do you watch Wednesday Maction?
No. I'm not in the Midwest. We don't get that.
You don't get many Maction?
No. I mean, maybe we do. I don't know. All right. Yeah. Nick Zakel from Fordham. I didn't even know they had a football team. Small school dude. Played tackle in college. Has really short arms. They want to play him at guard in the Niners. He played a little guard at the Senior Bowl. Got pushed around because you know what? He needs to add play strength and work on his technique. But the movement is off the charts. So what do you think? To me, again, it's a C.
Nice pick.
It's a C. He's got some upside. He's late in the draft. He's not going to contribute his first year. He may not contribute his second year, but if you ever get anything from him and he's a starting guard, then great. So I'll give it a C.
I think he's a nice pick. His relative athletic score was crazy. Like, it was crazy. And that's always a fun one for people. But
he's like Tom Compton, man. He can move. He's just going to get knocked back hard.
I think he's a nice pick from that standpoint where you can develop him to, at worst case, be a good backup for you for a few years in a run game, which in terms of where he was drafted, that's a successful draft pick, Because I mean,
he has the athleticism to become a good run blocker. The Niners just don't value pass protection.
I think that's targeting. I think his kind of best case is that he gets stronger and becomes a starter. I think his medium case and what's like passable and good, especially with where he was drafted, is that he's becomes this athletic backup who's good backup at guard, and maybe can play tackle,
and maybe can do a little right.
And then his worst case is that he gets cut after a year. It doesn't work at all. But I think if you're looking, at least he has the athletic upside. Where I do think, given where he was drafted, I don't know. I thought this one was a pretty good pick. But again, I don't watch offensive linemen. I don't pretend to know offensive linemen. I hate offense. I don't hate them. I hate watching them. It's one of the most boring, tedious tasks. It's impossible to project. It's the worst position ever. No offense to all offensive linemen. But so I personally don't prefer it. I just go off what other people who are really, really smart say and try to just understand where they're coming from. And with him, that's just kind of my understanding of
I'm with you. I'm not like a super great scout. I'm just saying from what I've learned and seen from Zakelj, he looks like a guy who has a chance to be a quality backup. And at this point, I mean, that's fine. It's not a bad pick.
Yeah,
It's
where
not a
he was
great
drafted,
pick.
right? That's
Yeah.
fine. Yeah,
I'm
that's a
just
good
saying
pick.
it's fine.
It's okay
It's
pick.
fine. It's definitely fine. I'll give it a C. Sam Womack, I'm not sure he'll make the team. Burford has a chance to be a quality backup. Danny Gray has a chance to be a quality backup. Same with Ty Davis Price. To me, so far, this is a one-player draft. Drake Jackson has a chance to be a Pro Bowl.
Hey.
He has a chance to be a Pro Bowl
We're not
defensive
gonna
end.
hate on Ty Davis Price now, are we? Come on.
I'm
I'm gonna go out on a
a
limb. Ty
little
Davis Price will be their
skeptical that
starting
Ty
running
Davis
back next
Price
year.
is going to go to a Pro Bowl in his career.
He's gonna be their starting running back next year.
Wow. Okay. Well, we'll see. We shall see. I like that you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
Three more players. Kalia Davis, round 6, right at the end. This guy was a linebacker, became a defensive end,
Coming off the ACL.
Coming off the ACL. You know what? I like this pick. You know why? Because the Niners have Chris Kasarik. They compared him to DJ Jones. I buy it. B+. I like this.
Oh.
He's going to redshirt. He won't be around for a while. He's going to end up being really good. B+.
So I loved this pick. I wanted them to take a interior defensive lineman who's, just a purely 1 to 2 down player, but has a little bit of explosion, because then Kasarik can maybe turn him into a 3 down player the way he did with DJ Jones.
Boom.
But I also just wanted them to take that because there's a lot of value, and they don't really have this beefy one technique like DJ Jones that can just get on the center and just hold people up and be a beast against the run. I mean, Javon Kinlaw can do that, but I mean, that's not why you draft Javon Kinlaw 14th overall. There's a reason guys like Kalia Davis are available near the end of the draft, because a lot of these guys, they're there usually to be, 1 to 2 down players. I thought he was a good pick. I've actually heard of him too, which was nice, because at Sam Womack and the guy drafted after him, Nick Zakelj.
I was getting how to pronounce his name either. That's not good.
I was getting a little bit worried, but Kalia Davis, I thought it was a good pick. He's coming off the ACL. There's not going to be really a rush, but I do think he can develop into I think he could easily be a rotational defensive lineman, which
No, I think he actually could develop into a dude, this guy's the truth. This guy seems like he would have gone higher in the draft had he not torn his ACL.
Yeah.
Clearly the Niners do not
great value in the 200s.
The Niners clearly do not care about getting any production from their rookies this year, except for maybe the running back, because all these guys are.
And Drake Jackson. I think Drake Jackson can contribute.
Yeah, but I don't think they don't need it. They could, if they get it, great. But at the same time, like the book on him is that he needs to add strength. But Grant, all these guys seem to be a year away, and anything they get this year is like gravy.
I think the issue, though, Grant, I would say with that line of thinking is that if the bulk of your picks are between rounds 4 and 7, what guys are you really going to expect that are going to come in and do that?
Good point. And plus, their first pick was basically a 3rd round pick, almost.
Basically.
So we like Kalia Davis. I like this pick a lot. Mark Salas says Adam Peters said to Mayoko that Zakelj will be tried at center. Great. That seems like a long-term project. He's not playing this year. So he could be a center, next year, maybe. See, the Niners are going to sell fans on. We have a competition. The cream is going to rise to the top. Iron is going to sharpen iron. Maybe. Remember they used to do that 10 years ago with Matt Moore at wide receiver. Like, oh, we got a guy. He's so good at wide receiver. No, you just have a bunch of bad wide receivers. And this guy,
I think that's how the receiver position was for a little minute before they drafted Deebo Samuel was just who steps up for a long time with the 49ers.
Marquise Goodwin is the best wide receiver in camp. Okay, well, what does that say?
What I will say, Grant, is that I think that it's going to be tough for anybody who goes to these practices to watch anybody in the offensive line, because I think this defensive line is going to once again kick their butts up and down the field. I think
better. Better. I would think
they probably will.
Eric says thoughts on the running back pick. Sermon can't catch a break. It's definitely a vote of no confidence in Trey Sermon. If I were Trey Sermon's agent, I would be.
I'd ask for a trade.
Got to get out of here.
I still think he has a chance, right? If they go to a more inside zone heavy offense, Trey Sermon was the inside zone god at Ohio State. It seems
like every single running back they have on their team is an inside zone specialist. Elijah Mitchell, Jeff Wilson Jr., Trey Sermon. TDP. They're all guys that just smash into the line.
I mean, if
on a
you're
zone
going to
read.
have the more zone read, right,
Yeah,
then
on a
you're going to
zone
look
read,
for the
they
Alfred
hit that
Thomas,
hard.
Alfred
Except for
Morris
Sermon.
type back. Yeah.
Sermon doesn't hit it hard. But Sermon, he's what he does good. I mean, I'm just saying. I think that I would just like them to have a home run hitter in their backfield, because until they do, Deebo, it's you. It's you. Unless you get traded. Because it
Yeah,
ain't
but
Danny Gray.
I look, I still believe in Trey Sermon. I'll say that. I just think he's way too talented. Come on, the talent with Trey Sermon is not. He's probably
True.
still the most gifted back on the team.
It's true. He never
At
really got
his size, how good his feet are.
He showed enough as a rookie to get a second chance. I mean, really. The coach says, Vish, your O-line hate just gutted me, but I digress. What worries me most is that we didn't draft or acquire one guy at tackle, which says they're all in on McGlinchey. We'll find guards. It's that right tackle. That's a great point, man.
Yeah,
That's
so
a great point.
I don't hate like
two guards.
O-linemen. Like I would draft. Yeah, I would draft O-linemen everywhere. It's just my issue is I cannot evaluate them at all, and it's so difficult to learn because there's so many different things with their technique, and it's just such a pain. So it bothers me because I can't learn it or learn about it. In regards, no, I disagree with that actually. What tackle are you going to get at 61, or what tackle was available really in the third or fourth round when they were picking? Like, I don't think they could have just taken a tackle to take one. They had to take a tackle that was.
I don't know. I don't have any names off the top, but I'm sure if I had looked, there's probably a guy with good movement skills and length who lacks play strength and technique at tackle. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got two of those.
No. I do think that's a fair take though. From that standpoint, it is a fair take that maybe they're 100% sure of McGlinchey's recovery. But I also think that, maybe McKivitz, they look at him. Maybe Jalen Moore, they feel like, ooh, with the year behind him, he's got a chance at right tackle. So maybe, honestly, maybe. Like, you might say that, but it could be that's their thought process, because the realistic thing is that nobody you're drafting in the fourth or fifth round is going to be, quote unquote, better suited for tackle than those three guys. Like, those three guys are kind of in that same range. Maybe Moore has a bit more talent than the other two. So that's kind of what I was going to say. Yeah.
Matthew wants to know if the Niners are creating a power run game a la 2012 Washington with Ty Davis Price, the Alfred Morris. It does seem like their top four running backs are all kind of in the same mold to me. So maybe.
No, I don't think it's going to be necessarily a power game. I just think it's so hard to get the edge running outside zone in modern day football. That's why they needed to toss the ball to Deebo Samuel, the single most explosive player in the NFL, to win the edge.
Maybe they'll do it with Ray.
I think it's easier to do it with the quarterback from that zone read action. And these running backs are more suited for the inside zone anyway. So I think
Lance better hit that edge a little harder, man. Last year he was like dancing to the edge. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, his running did disappoint. If there was one thing that disappointed me about Trey Lance last year, was just his pure running. I didn't think his
never
running
got out
was
of third gear. I felt like what are you doing? Coaches, at least they have to address it, Vish. That's what worries me. It's not even being addressed.
No, that's fair.
It's curious. I mean, they must love Justin School. Hold on. Tom Jensen said they are counting on Moore for right tackle, in my opinion. McKivitz. I mean, McKivitz played a lot down the stretch, did he not? He started.
He played left tackle in the week 18 do or die game versus the Rams.
He started left tackle. I think that says something about who they trust. So I think it's kind of McKivitz's job to lose. He's also started games for them at guard. All right, two more picks. Tariq Castro.
He was also cut last year. He didn't make the original 53.
True. One pick after the Niners took Kalia Davis. They took Penn State cornerback Tariq Castro Fields. Again, I'm giving this a B+. I like this pick. I mean, I don't know how good he is. He may never be anything for him, but he got a chance. 6'1", runs a 4.3, has intercepted some passes. He's a terrible tackler. He is just a bad tackler. But the Niners have all their DBs are good tacklers. All of them. They have no DBs with ball skills. They finally got to do it with ball skills and recovery speed. Now, he may never work out, but B+. I like this pick.
He's got pretty great physical, like we talk about the relative athletic score. This guy also kicks butt in the relative athletic score department. I don't really put stock usually into corners drafted so late. I think he's a special teams contributor at best. I don't want to do the same thing I don't want people to do the same thing they did with Tim Harris for a couple of years. We got Tim Harris. Harris. Typically,
Tim Harris was the injury due too, though. Yeah.
Yeah, typically corners drafted, around here It's
Best
just
player.
tough. It's
Yeah.
tough.
Yeah. Because it's not the hardest position to scout. I mean, you just turn on the tape of them doing man-to-man coverage. Can you hang with
No,
good
it
receivers or
is the
not?
hardest, right? Because even the ones that look good, sometimes they just can't hang in the NFL. It's just very few guys that can be a starting corner in the
Yeah, but it was
NFL.
like it's not
Yeah.
the opposite, like where there's these guys. Like, it's hard to find diamonds in the rough at corner. Some
Yeah,
guy
it
who was
is.
just
It
dominating
is.
in college that just fell to the 7th round for no
It
reason.
is. It is. It is. It
Yeah,
is.
yeah, absolutely. As opposed to offensive weapons who just weren't like Kittle. Good player, wasn't used correctly in Iowa. Used a blocker. You could see him fall into the 5th round because of usage. But at corner, it's not really.
You get
If
to
you can
see
cover it,
them. You
you
get
can
to see
see it.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Tariq Castro Fields, I don't know if he'll ever play, but it's the exact kind of corner you want to take with the 221st
Yeah.
pick.
Because right, it's tough to project. I mean, it's likelier than not he doesn't turn out to be anything, but at least he's got a chance because of how he is physically.
Also, I feel like it's a
Y-
departure for the Niners. As you mentioned, they've had the same scouts forever, even though they had different regimes. And this scouting department, as put together by Trent Baalke and Scott McCloughan, loves tackling and physicality in their secondary. And this is a departure from that because this guy
Mhm.
misses like every tackle. Sorry, Tariq, I'm just kidding. Last pick, the Brock Purdy pick. This I thought was almost like for giggles. He's like, okay, we're gonna draft a camp arm. Cool. We get our first pick of undrafted free agents. Cool. I mean, I just felt like maybe you should have drafted someone at like a safety who had a chance to make your team because Brock Purdy's not going to make the team. He's never going to play for the 49ers. Maybe he will. I'm saying he won't. And
Hey,
so
Nick Mullins
it
played
was
for the
cute. It was
49ers,
cute.
so
It was
hey,
cute.
Nick Mullins played for the 49ers,
And
so
they immediately compared him to Nick Mullins. I watched this guy. I don't know. He
he's
he
not
scrambles around a little bit. He's more of like
yeah,
a Beathard type to me.
Scott Tolzien-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I thought it was
I
kind of
actually have a
cute.
different take. I have a different
Okay.
take. So I've
You liked
wanted
it.
them to take a quarterback a
And you
little bit
wanted
later
Purdy.
for a couple years. Um, I think at some point you can't keep giving $2 million fully guaranteed to Nate Sudfeld, who's terrible.
Nate
Um,
Sudfeld has starter potential. Didn't you see that one game he started? Oh wait, he's never started a game.
yeah, no,
Sorry.
the game he came in at half when Philadelphia wasn't tanking, but they did tank.
Yeah. Okay.
2 years ago, Doug Peterson's last game coaching for Philadelphia. But my thing is with Brock Purdy is I liked that pick from that standpoint. Is at least give yourself a chance to develop a backup. I think I think they're at a point where I understand for this year having a veteran backup because it's Trey Lance's first year. But at some point, I'm kind of sick of them if they give 2 million, unless you're going to pay a good backup. If you're going to give $2 million fully guaranteed to Sudfeld, I mean the Patriots did kind of the same thing, but they did a lot earlier. They took Bailey Zapp because they had to fork over $3 million fully guaranteed to what's his name, Brian Hoyer,
Oh,
which you don't
hold
want to
on
do
though.
that.
Hold on.
It's
If
yeah.
you want to develop a backup that's not Sudfeld, I get that because Sudfeld isn't good enough. Wouldn't you? And you're thinking like, oh, he'll be on the practice squad first. I got some time. Wouldn't you want someone with like the similar skill set as Trey Lance? Like in Baltimore, they don't have Nick Mullins backing up Lamar
No,
Jackson.
no, but clearly they're looking for this style backup, this like super
Why?
intellectual. I don't know. It's just what Shanahan typically
I
likes.
don't
Hey,
like it
well, why don't you like it? That's
because
how
the
your
whole
boy
if
Nick
you have Trey
Mullins
Lance,
lasted for so
the
long.
offense is going to be featured around Trey Lance's skill set. If he gets hurt and misses a couple of games, the whole offense has to change with the backup. Don't you want to have the same offense with the backup? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
I mean, I think I mean Shanahan took great
Like the
offense to this question.
quarterback-driven
Actually,
run
he
game,
got
that's
really
that goes
really
out the
mad.
window.
He got
I don't
really
know.
really mad when this question was asked to him.
Yeah,
I
well,
don't
he
I don't
only has himself
necessarily.
to blame because when he got rid of Colin Kaepernick in 2017, he said, "I want 3 quarterbacks who are all the same so they can all run the same." He said, came out of his own mouth.
Yeah. I mean, you should ask him that question then. You should bring up that quote and ask him that question. I'd love to hear what he says.
I have. I've done it before. I
What did he
literally did
say?
that last year. He was like, "Wow, I can't believe you found that quote." Like, dude, it's in my email. I don't delete any emails. I have every single transcript you've ever done, plus the Harbaugh ones. Like, what are you talking about? It took me 5 seconds to search through Google. What? You said, I've already asked him about it. He was like, well, same. Sorry.
He just said,
He said, well, but I could probably find out what he said. I forgot what he said.
I mean, if it takes you 5 seconds, what are we waiting for?
Purdy is mobile. Grant is clueless. Yeah, man. He's mobile. Running that zone read. It's fine. Yeah, he can do the same things as Trey. All good. I'm clueless.
Well, yeah,
He's
Grant, you're
mobile like
really,
CJ
really
Beathard is mobile.
clueless.
And they did run the zone read with CJ, if you remember.
Yeah, but CJ at least had approximation of an NFL arm.
Did he?
Is that fair? Like an
I don't know.
approximation.
Did he? Purdy doesn't even
An
have that. Ugh.
approximation of an NFL
Purdy doesn't
arm.
even have that. That's rough. The coach says Fields blew his load at PSU trying to get drafted this year. He played desperate. Niners are banking on 2019 version of him. He only played 3 games in 2020. There's a sneaky good pick. Who? Oh, Fields. I thought you meant Justin Fields for a second. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah, I saw Justin Fields
Wait a
too, and I
second.
was like, wait, Justin Fields played bad versus Penn State?
Played
I thought he
desperate.
played pretty good. No, I think that this is
Okay.
actually a
Story
fair
of it.
take. I didn't watch him in 2019. I didn't watch him in 2020. I watched one game, I think, in 2021 just to see because I have the Penn State defense film. So I just watched it real quick. I mean, again, I don't think it's a bad pick at all. You take a chance on a guy who has actual physical traits. Now, do I have faith that he's going to be a starter? He's no.
Yeah, I mean,
he's
in
a 7th-round pick,
2019,
but
to
yeah.
coach's point, the dude had 2 picks and 8 PBUs. I mean, there might be something there.
I mean, physically, yeah. I mean, okay,
Might be something
we
there.
can say this, right? He did
Yeah.
go to Penn State. He did start at Penn State. That's something. It's a Big Ten
Yeah.
school. Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like
much
Emmanuel
recruiter
Mosley,
too.
right? Emmanuel Mosley went to Tennessee and played at Tennessee. It was an SEC school.
All right, that was 90 minutes. This was fun.
Wait. There's some breaking news.
What?
Verrett's back.
Oh my god. Let's talk about it. So the 49ers apparently have re-signed Jason Verrett. What do you think? Do you think he'll make the team?
If he stays healthy. I wonder if he's gonna get a chance at nickel.
Interesting. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
I mean, he's still Jason Verrett. Like, the thing about him that's always enticing is if you do luck into that one healthy season of Jason Verrett, it's usually an all-pro caliber season. It's a season that puts him in the conversation with the 10 or 11
When you say
best corners
usually,
in the NFL.
he's had 2.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
If you luck into the
Usually.
one.
Yeah, the 1 or 2. Yeah. He's well, how old is he now? He's at least 30.
He's got to be close to 30, right?
Yeah. To me at this point, he's a camp body. I would be kind of surprised if he made the team. Maybe. I mean, he tore his ACL less than a year ago. Maybe mid-season he could do something.
I just want to say something about him. His perseverance is exceptional.
And I think that's probably why they're bringing him back.
Yeah,
So
it looks. I
impressed.
think he probably just wants a chance. Like, give me a chance to compete again. Wow, like Jason Verrett is truly. He should. I think what his perseverance, his determination, his never like he has not quit after all of this. I think it's truly unbelievable from that standpoint. I don't really have much expectation for him because I think even if he does fully recover, it may take him another year after that to come back, because that's what happened to him in 2019 when he had to play that one quick snap against Pittsburgh and Deontay Johnson put him in the blender twice. It was not great, but then 2020 was obviously phenomenal. Then 2021, obviously, well, I thought he would he was primed to have a great season, and then he got hurt week 1, which was just brutal. But yeah, I think if there's one thing I could say about Jason Verrett is, wow, like him as a human being is a true inspiration to everybody else.
And this is his last comeback attempt. He'll be 31 in June. I think the Niners should probably go slow with him because the last time they got him, they basically gave him a year to get his feet underneath him. And then he was terrible in 2019.
Yeah.
Then in 2020, he was a totally different person. Maybe if they slow play it again, but he's running out of time at 31 years old. It seems to me that if he could play like he did 2 years ago, the combination of him and Charvarius Ward would be elite. Because Verrett is better than Ward. But I don't expect that.
Yeah, healthy Verrett is better than what he played in 2021. Yeah. I mean, Verrett, he's a special athlete too, right? That's why he compensates for only being like 5'9", 185, because he moves. And he
has ball skills.
He has power and strength.
He can mirror you in your route. He can find the ball and he can catch it. He can do all 3. And I don't know I think Ward can do maybe the first one. I don't know about the second 2. So Verrett, if he can he's better than Mosley. Like, we love you, Mosley, but Verrett is better than you. So I don't know. I don't have high expectations here, but this is probably, we should have expected this. Also, he probably didn't get much money because the Niners had like
No.
$1.5 million in cap space.
He
He'll probably
probably
get like
got nothing. I
nothing.
think this is just the Niners giving a guy who, probably does everything the right way, has an incredible attitude, just one more chance. He
I agree.
probably wanted this more than the Niners did. Like, look
Good
at
point.
all the corners the Niners have. The Niners clearly, I think this was about giving a good guy a chance. And if he shows something, great for the Niners. But I think this is more for Jason Verrett. And I personally hope he comes out and kicks butt, not even as a fan, just because the guy's been so unlucky throughout his career. He deserves another W. Well, I mean, he deserves a payday, honestly. That's what he's really missed out on his entire career.
Yeah. Casey Cole says, Grant, next conference, can you ask JLKS why they won't ask JG to take a pay cut if they plan to keep him? No sense for him to take up that cap space. Oh, they
No,
will.
I mean, Grant, ask me the question. I'll be Kyle Shanahan.
Hey, Kyle, have you asked Jimmy Garoppolo to take a pay cut? Because it seems like he would be a really expensive backup.
No.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks.
And then you'll ask a follow-up and you'll be like, because we don't want to.
Because we don't want to. Okay.
Or we don't want to do this.
Thank you very much.
I mean, I'm sorry, but that's just been the interaction with you and Kyle of late.
No. Yeah, for like the last year plus.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I tried. That's our show. Thanks for letting us know about the Jason Verrett news. Yeah, that's it. 90-minute show.